Okay, there are fraud accusations spreading about about the Democratic primary, and many people have asked me to talk about this. I want to spend some time on it today. There are allegations that statistical analyses prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the Democratic primary was rigged by the DNC in favor of Hillary Clinton. There's some confusion about this, and the reason for part of that confusion is that within a very short time, different stories surfaced. One was that of a statistical analysis that was done, and there was another story of leaked emails purporting to show that the DNC was colluding with corporate media to push a Hillary nomination. So some people think this is all one story, and in a greater sense, it is sort of all related to the same point, but they're actually two different stories, and we should analyze them separately. First of all, two statisticians, Axel Gagesel and Rodolfo Cortez, compared states that use hard paper evidence of votes to states that don't use paper ballots, and they found irregularities. They also compared election results with exit polls, noting that the difference between election results and exit polls in the Democratic primary 2016 was bigger than it was in 2008. And they theorized that the difference between exit polls and election results was bigger in states without paper trails because it is easier to rig elections when there is no paper trail. Now, without spending a ton of time on the specific math, because it's really the type of thing you want to sit with for a half hour and think about yourself whether it makes sense to you, there was something being sent around claiming to be a Stanford study, which implies, number one, that it was directly published by Stanford, and also that it was a study in the sense that it was peer-reviewed and it had widely accepted statistical analyses. This is not true. One of the two authors of this paper, and paper is the right term, works for Stanford, and the authors have acknowledged the claims and the research methodology were not subject to peer review. They were not subject to academic scrutiny. This was a paper, not a study. Now, Lewis, this doesn't change the validity of it, but it was being written about as if this is a completely academic, accepted, peer-reviewed, Stanford-sanctioned study, when in reality this was a paper done by two individuals, one of whom is associated with Stanford. This is a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's a pretty huge difference. My next question would be, when people talk about exit data, that how much information did you really gather? I mean,
Right.
Is it enough to conclude that there is a certain and large difference between that and the voting results?
Well, in the paper, Geisel cites a number of sources to substantiate the claim that the fraud is well documented, but most of the citations involve people with some kind of interest in the overall dispute, including many groups that are parties to lawsuits. And if you're really thinking about this as an academic study, that's not something you will generally want to include. Now, this doesn't necessarily cast doubt on the validity of the results, but it's really important that when we talk about this, we make of it what we should rather than what some are reporting. This is by no means proof that there was no fraud. I want to make that absolutely clear. But what I want to try to do is inject some facts into what a few headlines on various blogs and news sites have not made clear. Now, that's number one. Number two, separately, there were some emails leaked by a hacker going by the name of Guccifer 2.0, which claimed to show that dating all the way back to May of 2015, the DNC was actively working to clean up Hillary Clinton's record, including on issues related to campaign finance and ethics and transparency. And there are also emails released claiming to show coordination between the DNC and corporate media outlets like CNN. Yeah, that's not a surprise to anybody. I mean, we've been covering that for a while, but it's important to keep these two stories separate. And I think that's what many of the reports and blog posts about this and people emailing me have failed to do. So, Lewis, not proof that there was fraud, not proof that there was not fraud, but let's consider all of this in context for what it is.
Yes, and we take the whole primary, and we know that shady things have been happening. We know that it has leaned towards Hillary Clinton because of Debbie Wasserman Schultz and It's just the whole thing is pretty ugly. But I
The
don't know if this
question of
study is.
out and out fraud as
Yeah,
described in this paper is a different story, I think is the point we're trying to make.
yeah, and this is not proving that.
No doubt about it. Let's take a break. Next, our investigation into what we are calling the authoritarian left. Warby Parker is offering a free 5-day home try-on to give you the opportunity to check out their glasses. I personally wear Warby Parker glasses when I'm not wearing my contact lenses, and I also started with one of these free at-home try-ons of 5 pairs of glasses. You can get your free home try-on and support the David Pakman Show at warbyparkertrial.com/TDPS. I don't really like going into glasses stores and trying on glasses while the salesperson sort of hovers over me, and I like more than 30 seconds to actually figure out whether I like the glasses. So with the Warby Parker home try-on, I was able to pick 5 pairs that I liked, put them on in the comfort of my own home, pick the one I like the most, and then Warby Parker put my prescription lenses in there for me. A lot of people don't know that the eyeglass industry is controlled by just a few big corporations that keep prices very high, like $300 for prescription glasses high, which is just insane. Warby Parker glasses start at $95. That's what mine cost. And for every pair of glasses sold, Warby Parker distributes a pair of glasses to someone in need. You can try 5 pairs and see what you like. Check out the at-home trial and support our show by going to warbyparker.com/TDPS. It costs nothing.